When I look at the current situation on financial structure here and abroad, I always call it the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges are too big to fail financial institutions, asset overhangs, and tolerance of usury. It is rather shocking that when you study growth stocks, and the Investor's Business Daily newspaper is one that's, how would I say, designed to construct filters for prospective stock investors, that the company Visa is now listed in their top 7 stocks. I mean, out of several thousand. Now, why in God's name would Visa be considered a new growth stock at this point? And it's in large part because we do not have usury laws in the United States. And they were allowed through some elements of opacity and some elements of political coercion, which Senator Dick Durbin, you probably remember from Illinois, said the banks own the place. But when you have a society that has an inflation rate that's somewhere between 0 and 2%, what are we doing allowing these institutions, when there is trouble, to retroactively move your interest rate from 8% or 6.5% to 28.9% to 31%? That civilizations don't do that kind of stuff. But our politics tolerates that, what you might call wealth extraction, because in essence, these people made a mess and they got to fill a hole. The hole is their balance sheet. Why we tolerate housing overhangs in America, where by some measures, I've been doing a lot of work in California, but California, Nevada, Florida, parts of Ohio and Michigan, over 1/3 of the mortgages are underwater. What's happening in Southern California, in particular San Bernardino County at this time, is that people have stopped paying on their mortgages and they've stopped paying taxes. Their mortgages are so far underwater that they don't move out. When you go talk to people about why there isn't a process for restructuring, these things were all bundled into mortgage securities, and the people who run the mortgage servicers at one level, I'll speak, just don't know how to go out and collect 7,000 proxies for a particular mortgage bundle in order to allow these restructurings. At another level, the mortgage servicers own the home equity line of credit and the second mortgages, which should be wiped out to 0 in order to restructure the first mortgage, which is senior. So you have what they now call, in the parlance of complex derivatives, tranche warfare, where the different tranches of these securities are. But what happens then, and I know a number of people, big institutions, BlackRock, PIMCO, and others, will tell you that the historical data is such that if you restructure mortgages and people stay in their homes, first thing is municipalities garner more tax revenue. The community functions better. Second thing is nobody tears out the copper pipes. They maintain the house, things of that nature. And that they estimate that a mortgage is worth 20% more with a restructuring than it is with a foreclosure. And yet, with tranche warfare, we can't get to the place where we do the right thing. And ironically, while the servicers are either incompetent in the sense of they can't manage that 7,000 signatures, or conflicted because they own some of the things that should be wiped to 0, they're carrying them on their books. Why are they doing that? Because they carry them on their books so they don't have to mark down their earnings, so their bonus pools are bigger. And lo and behold, their campaign contributions can be bigger as a result. So you have a situation of dysfunction with housing overhangs that are not, how do I say, any logical, benevolent dictator would fix this very quickly, and there are unnecessary losses to the tune of 20% of the value of the housing stock that are being incurred. Then the final stooge that I talked about was the too big to fail firms, which is a very, very odd and demoralizing dimension of our financial structure. At one level, it's demoralizing to smaller and other financial firms because the big ones when they are considered too big to fail, that anesthetizes credit default risk. They fund themselves at a lower cost. They pick up market share from the smaller institutions where you do have to price in that risk. And they are encouraged to take more leverage and grow their balance sheet more than they should because their creditors are not penalizing them with higher funding costs associated with the risks that they take, which implies bigger market share and more leverage at the big institutions implies a bigger bailout in the event of the next downturn. And as taxpayers, that's another way, as I say, the Three Stooges get at us.